Hello, YouTube. I wanted to give an update, 5-year update on my atheist to Christian testimony. So much has happened in the last 5 years, and I remember the day that it happened, within a few hours of it happening, I thought to myself, okay, in 5 years from now, these feelings are going to wear off. If you don't know my story, I had a born-again experience, went from being a complete atheist to a complete Christian in, a moment. I had a spiritual experience. I had no idea what happened because I hadn't read the Bible. I didn't know that this had happened to other people in the past, and I didn't know other people's testimonies. And since then I've found other people on YouTube and in real life who have had similar experiences, and I think that it was a born-again experience. And so, and the similar things are listed in the Bible, like Paul's experience and Thomas's experience. And so, anyway, so I had this spiritual experience, and it completely transformed me inside, and over the course of the next 5 years also transformed my life on the outside. I can't possibly say all of the blessings over the past 5 years because sometimes it's multiple times a day, and but the big ones are easy to talk about, just the markers that we all recognize. Like I got an awesome career, and got married, started my family, got my home, bought our house and paid it off like right away. And also so many blessings come out of just living a sinless life. When you're doing your best not to sin, you're not intentionally sinning, and knowing what sin is, it's like you're just making all the right moves. And of course you're avoiding a lot of pitfalls if you're making all the right moves. And so there are subsidiary blessings from that as well. And but when it first happened to me, I thought, okay, 5 years from now, these feelings are going to wear off, and I'm going to think that I had some kind of acid trip, which I've never done acid, and I've never done any like drugs or anything. I don't know if I've ever even been drunk in my life. Never smoked a cigarette or something like that in my life. So, but I thought, okay, I'm gonna find out. It was some, I don't know, like it was a spiritual experience. And so sure enough, 5 years down the road, those initial feelings do wear off, and now they're just a memory. And I remember what happened because I've made recordings of it. I wrote it down multiple times, and there's evidence of how powerful it was because of my behavioral change as well. Like I went to Israel by myself when I was still single, and I everything that I do, I put it through this filter of what is the right thing to do, or what's the right decision to make through God's eyes. I try to see it, what would God think of this, or like what's the most righteous thing, what's the most godly thing I can do. And so some things that I was really surprised about when I became a Christian is, one of the first things I did is I thought, okay, so God is real, and now what? Why am I here? How do I get back to that? Why didn't I get to stay like in heaven? Why am I on earth? Why was I ever here? Why are any of us ever here? And I didn't yet have those answers. Again, I had never read the Bible. And so I turned to the Bible, and I did have one in the house that was bought for me when I was a little kid. And I started realizing like what that experience was. I knew that the Bible was a place to turn to because this experience happened after I prayed to Jesus. It was flippant. I could have just as easily prayed to Buddha or Allah or whatever, but I happened to choose the name Jesus to pray to, even though I wasn't a believer. And it was the right choice, thank goodness, because I actually did get that response. And then the Bible, I was so surprised, first off, that I thought that I knew what was in the Bible, even though I hadn't read it, just from people talking. And so much of what people say is not in the Bible, period. It's just not there. And then also, there's so much in the Bible that I had never heard before that was really important to know. And so my idea of what the Bible said was totally off, which was interesting to learn that, because I think that most people have they're in the same situation where their beliefs about what the Bible says are totally off until they actually read it for themselves. And then the second place that I went to look for God was with other people. I thought that I was going to go meet other Christians at church who were in the same position that I was. Like, wow, I've been transformed and I'm a Christian now and I'm totally fervent, totally on fire. And I have not really been able to find a perfect church. And I've, been told many times that I'll never find a perfect church because nobody's perfect and the church is made up of people. And yeah, that's fine, but it was still surprising to me because I thought that all of the other Christians were 100% Christians and aiming to be sinless. So to sin, it's an archery term. It means to miss the mark. And I thought that all Christians were at least aiming to hit the target. And the thing is that they aren't always even aiming to hit the target. And so that really surprised me. I also learned that a lot of churches, and I would say half, I live near Seattle, I live in Western Washington, and at least in my area, I would say at least half of the population of churches around here are wolves in sheep's clothing. They're pretending to be Christians, and they are not. And in fact, they might even be Satanists, or they are, whether they know it or not, they're not working for God, they're working for Satan. And I can see that easily. I can discern that. I've been to other parts of the country, though, and I don't think that that's true everywhere. I think that's just in the area that I live. We live in just a very, satanic area, just on the outskirts of Seattle. So anyway, that really surprised me, that I didn't find other believers at church as much as I thought that I would. And in fact, it's kind of a location that predators go to find Christians to feed off of them, to find easy targets, find trusting and loving people, very forgiving people who are always giving you the benefit of the doubt, and people who are always being, they get taken advantage of. The very nice, soft people pool in churches, and then people who want to take advantage of that also go to the church to find that. So that's just the case in my area, and I don't think that's true everywhere. But that really surprised me that I have found some fervent individuals, and they are out there. Even in this area, there are people like me. There are, even people who, it's just, they are out there, but it's maybe 5% of the population, probably less, like 1 in 20, maybe more like 1 in 100, maybe 1 in a couple hundred. But, that's just something that surprised me. And the thing is that we're all still learning. I'm still learning, even though I became a Christian and I was 100% a believer in that moment that I had that born again experience. At that time, yes, I was fully a Christian, but I was a baby. I hadn't even read the Bible, I had no idea what I'm supposed to do or what this means or anything. And now, 5 years into it, I'm much more developed now, but I still have a long way to go. And I think that nobody reaches this level of ultimate maturity. We all have a long way to go, even if you've been a Christian for 100 years. So I learned that, we're all at some point of progression, like all Christians, and so there's not like this safe haven of pure Christians where we're all on the same page and we're all perfect together. That was surprising and really disappointing too. It feels pretty lonely to be here on earth. And so I knew that was going to happen, that I would lose those feelings and I would start to doubt and I would start to think that I just had a hallucination or I'm just crazy or whatever. And so I did kind of prepare, because I know myself. I know how I think. I have more of like, it's easier for me to see the atheist worldview. And, I'm less of the, I don't know, I've always been very like logical, mathy, sciencey, and artsy as well. And I kind of always have rejected emotion and seen that as kind of stupidity, which I don't see it that way now. But I'm just saying, I knew myself, and I predicted that I would start to have doubts probably 5 years down the line. And so what's happened, and it has been exactly 5 years and like 14 days. And over the course of the past couple of weeks, I've been praying about it. And I said, what I thought would happen is happening. And God has just revealed himself to me. It's been so awesome these past just 2 days even. That's why I'm making this video. Like today I was reading, shamefully, like something that kind of caught my eye. It was kind of like a celebrity gossip thing. And I was just going to let myself read this, which I don't do often, but I was doing it. And halfway through the article, like, it was getting really bad. I had to step away because it was a really nasty article. I didn't know what I was getting into. And then when I came back and I was going to finish the article, the second half of it was just all about God and redeeming this person from this horrible life experience like that she was going through. It was awesome. I shared it on my Twitter. And it was just, how did I get a sermon? She basically gave a sermon, and the second half, I got a sermon out of that. And the same thing happened to me the day before, where I was looking up the most obscure thing. I was looking up how to make an ancient technology food dryer. And so I looked up how do Native Americans preserve food using a food dryer. And that person's channel that I stumbled on, he also had this, 5-part sermon. It was like over an hour long about Babylon and the horror of Babylon, and he's totally fervent, again, a totally, on fire Christian. And so God has been a redirect, like he's stepping his foot into my life, and helping me stay on the right path. And I didn't know what was going to happen after this 5-year point where I knew I would start to, kind of fade away. And thankfully, I didn't have to do it alone, because God is stepping in for me and just taking care of me. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. I'm just so grateful, and I'm so glad that I was scared that I was going to just fall away and I wouldn't have any control over it, and I just wasn't meant for heaven or something. And so this has just been so wonderful to have the confirmation that maybe there is still a chance for me to go to heaven, and there is still a purpose for me, and maybe I am chosen or meant to go to heaven. I don't know. I hope so, but yeah, I just wanted to share it, and I hope you guys are enjoying my content. I didn't get as many views as I would have liked to on this series that I did about womanhood, and I think those messages are super important to share with women, but I have to just find a way to make them more visually appealing and catchy and short. And unfortunately, that's what I have to do, even though these topics are not short topics. But thanks for the support, comments, views, sharing. It means a lot to me. So, amen.